and welcome to The Film Angle, a podcast where we dive deep into the latest releases and unearth the classics to better our cinephilic curiosity. I'm Kris.
And I'm Alex.
Let's get into it. It's the holiday season.
It is. You know what that means? It means catching up on all the films that you forgot to watch throughout the year.
Barely scratched the surface. I've had a good, it's been really nice, man, to catch up on a lot of stuff that, we've been watching a lot of serious films recently, and it's been a little bit of a mixed bag, as we're going to get into today, of quality. But it's been nice to, Saturday and Sunday sit on my TV and just put on whatever I want, because there's a treasure trove of films that came out, and I've been behind. Really, really behind. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've been less behind because I was able to make it to London, which seems to be, I got a month's head start on on all the films that have been coming out in these last couple of months. I always find it interesting, December's such an interesting time to release films. I never have the time to go to the cinema in December. Obviously, I've been trying to, but the films that we're going to be talking about today. But it's just kind of it just seems a bit more awkward. But yeah, a lot of stuff is coming onto digital as well, so we're catching up with some of the films from a lot longer in the year, maybe some ones that we've missed out on. But yeah, no, it's been
well, it's December is a real time of indulgence for me. We've been sticking the oven on, putting a camembert in the oven.
I had a camembert last night.
Did you? Did you drizzle the honey and did you put some rosemary on that?
I didn't do rosemary, but I did the honey and I drizzled some chili flakes on top, a little bit of salt.
Equally as good. Equally as good.
Yeah,
so it's just been hot chocolates, cheese, any old crap, and just chocolate and putting on movies late at night. I mean, that's great. That's nice. I can't go to the cinema as much, but at home, I like watching movies during December. It's just different.
Absolutely. No, we kind of needed this episode. We're hoping to go for a little bit of a looser format today and just kind of catch up on some of those films. Obviously, I feel like our end of year kind of run of episodes has been just I don't want to say mad, but it's just it's not exactly what we expected. On the back end of coming out of the festival, doing interviews, speaking to people. It's been great. So I guess not every episode has been the big, the either the two new films and an old film kind of thing that we usually do. So yeah, we just thought we'd catch up on some of those ones that didn't get their own episode really.
Well, you think about it, this time last year we were talking about a film about a WWE wrestler playing a Santa Claus that goes to strip bars and kills women.
Yes. Yeah. It did make me think we haven't done a film that Streaming Forgot episode. Well, I guess for a year now. We didn't do any this year in the end.
I love doing those as well because they're some of the most memorable experiences for me, for better or worse.
They are, aren't they? And maybe we should involve somebody in one of those. Maybe that will
bingo.
Yeah. Though, to be open and honest with people, those don't always get the best ratings. Maybe
pure self-indulgence, of course.
It is pure self-indulgence, isn't it? And I guess people want to hear about the films that they've seen. So yeah, we haven't gone for a classic Christmas episode this year. It's not Christmas themed, but we did watch some Christmas films. I don't know. Shall we chat about some of the Christmas films we've been watching?
So this is terrible. We're preempting this episode by saying this is the episode where Alex and I had a week where we got to catch up of some, potential Oscar nominees in the future, some BAFTA nominated films. Most of the films I watched were shit Christmas movies.
Well, to be honest, you did watch more shit Christmas films than me. I do have a date set up. End of this week. I say a date, that made it sound weird, but me, M's sister and her partner, we're all going to be watching the new Lindsay Lohan Christmas film, which I always forget the name of, and we're going to be watching Hot Frosty, which I believe you have caught both of them.
Yes, in a row. So I was I pretend I was in your little double bill to come.
Yes,
the Lindsay Lohan.
Let me know what I'm getting into. You know what I mean?
Exactly. The Lindsay Lohan film you're talking about is Our Little Secret.
Yes.
I kept forgetting the title of that film.
Yeah, something about that title does not
it's so
work.
discreet, I think.
Yeah, an Irish Wish worked a lot better earlier in the year.
Irish Wish, I watched it, we watched it with a Guinness in our hands. Totally did not remind me of Ireland in any sort of way, but I loved it nonetheless.
Yeah, is this on the same vein then? Am I getting?
It's a trilogy in a way with her, isn't it? Because she did a Christmas movie first, didn't she? When she came back to Netflix.
Yes, which again I can't remember the title of, but I did quite enjoy it. Set in like a very kind of like in the mountains, Christmas town. Yeah,
oh yeah, they're always
she gets. Yeah. I think she gets like stuck out on the mountains with somebody and has to find a way home and all this.
That happens in an Irish Wish as well, except in Ireland.
Yeah. She's engaged to somebody who's not that nice. Oh my god, it is the same film.
This isn't the same film, but I don't know how much. I'm not going to talk about it too much today.
No, of course. Just tell me what I'm getting into.
I mean, you're getting into, right, I'm a bit split down the middle. I had fun with this film, Alex, but the problem is where like Irish Wish and, the other one, I don't think I saw the other one actually, but I can only attest for Irish Wish and other Netflix Christmas movies where it's just like, it's pure yuck and treacle and it's funny as hell. This one's kind of both. It's like, it's trying to be funny, like a screwball comedy, but then it has a lot of downtime moments, like little 10 minutes where there's heart-to-hearts and like you kind of switch off a little bit, where it's just like, it's not being laughable, it's just being mediocre.
Gotcha.
But then you got fun. This is basically like a monster-in-law sort of film where it's Kristen Chenoweth is like the stepmother that's a bit weird and over the top, and the matriarch of the family doesn't like Lindsay Lohan, and there's some fun dynamics there. But it's I didn't mind it. Lauren actually didn't like the movie, right? So he watched the first half and she's like, "Oh, I'm not really vibing with this." I was like, "Oh, we'll put on something else." And then I watched the rest of it myself the next day. Which really doesn't happen. But Hot Frosty, we both watched together. We had a lot more fun with that. That is basically, it's, they're not going to be. You're not going to be watching these every year. But you know what you're getting yourself into, right?
They're not a Christmas classic. They're just a little bit of fun because they're so bad, kind of thing. Yeah.
There is a future Christmas classic that we were going to talk about today.
Oh yeah. But before we get into that, tell me which way round I need to watch Hot Frosty and The Secret Film.
I mean, they are very different. I would say watch Our Little Secret when you're more, because it's longer, when you're in a bit more awake mood. If you're feeling a little bit more like you've had a few drinks or something, put on Hot Frosty. It's 90 minutes and your brain will switch off. Our Little Secret, you actually have to keep up with quite a lot of plot threads. It's a little bit
so do I start with
complex?
Do I start with that one before I'm a few drinks in?
Yeah, 100%. Oh, okay. if you're doing these the same night, do you?
Oh yeah, I'm double billing them
first.
I'm double billing them. Yeah.
God bless you, sir.
But you're right. We can talk about the other Christmas classic, which very quietly jumped onto Amazon Prime during the end of last week, I think.
Well, it was very nice that I didn't have to pay any extra tariffs to watch this film, Red One.
Yes, absolutely. A film that apparently cost $250 million to make.
I thought it was 200, and I thought it was crazy. It's 250.
Yeah. Anything, I think for this, I feel like anything over 100 is ridiculous,
Ooh.
right? Well, apparently 50 million alone went to The Rock.
Really?
The dude has an insane agent, right? Like his agent gets him the money, but puts him in some absolute flops.
But it's crazy, though. I mean, we're going to get into this, but it feels like watching this film, you think that Dwayne Johnson self-funded this movie. He is taking this seriously.
He does. He's very good at playing the straight man, I think. Or like,
what do you think? I'm watching him like loosen up a little bit.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. So like Red One, for anybody who doesn't know, is about so it's like a reimagining of the Santa Claus myth, like we've seen in other kind of films. It's like, how does this actually all work? How does this myth work? And here it's more kind of a technological, military, industrial complex type scenario where, Santa and, well, to be honest, the North Pole is its own hidden fortress. It's kind of like Wakanda in Black Panther, where it's like this technological. It's got its own country with technological advancements that we aren't used to in the human world. Fantastical creatures.
And there's no mythology here. Like they don't even have like a consistency with the types of creatures. It's just any old creature they could think of at the top of their brain, just fucking slap it on the screen.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It is a bit mad. And so this time, Santa is a jacked J.K. Simmons, as they say at the end of the film. Mm-hmm. Santa's a beast.
I'm interested to talk about that specifically too.
What, the fact that Santa is a beast?
I mean, he is a beast. I mean, JK's arms are massive, but that's not what I want to talk about.
But and then he gets kidnapped. Dwayne Johnson is the head of the ELF. He's basically Santa's bodyguard, and he's starting to feel like humanity's lost its way. So he's like handing his resignation anyway. So it's partly a one last job thing for him to save Christmas, and he has to team up with Chris Evans, who plays he? He's like
O'Malley.
Jack O'Malley, which he's like a rogue hacker, mercenary. Like he's very good at what he does, but he's also a bit of a bum. Like it doesn't fully make sense.
Yeah,
but he's the guy who doesn't really wait. The thing is, it's very difficult to not believe in Christmas in this kind of world, but he doesn't really believe in Christmas, but he's drawn along. So he's the guy who goes like, what? They're Pontiac talking?
He's got like a Brooklyn accent for some reason.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh man, why are you doing this? He's got an interesting agent as well, right? Because he like, as much as we poo-poo the Marvel films at the moment, like he was great as Captain America.
Oh yeah, I mean, I like Steve Rogers, yeah.
And it's such a different role for him. You'd think maybe because his own directorial debuts kind of flopped. Maybe he was just like, screw you guys, I'm just making shitty films for a lot of money from now on.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Evans is quite good at staying under the radar and not being like, he's never offensively bad. Like, I don't think he's capable of it, actually. And then he'll have a project like Knives Out, and then he'll be like, oh yeah, he's really good. But yeah, it's an interesting project for him. We have Lucy Liu in here as well.
Yeah.
She's the leader of like mythical. It's a government organization that protects mythical creatures.
Yeah, they try to do the shield thing, don't they? Where it's like strategic homeland, blah blah blah. But
she's Angela Bassett from Mission Impossible.
Yeah. It's riffing off a lot of other films, but it also like, I feel like it never like truly knows whether to take itself seriously or not, which is kind of the same as The Rock, who just does treat it very, very seriously.
Well, it's very weird. It's like, it's a very saccharine, overly sweet film. It's trying to really tug at your heartstrings and like really like, it's trying to be the ultimate family film. But then it's also really cynical. Like I think even, we're talking about the Jack Santa thing, right? And like the whole movie starts off. So the premise is that J.K. Simmons, Santa Claus, gets stolen. He gets pulled apart by, like some sort of SWAT team to take him away from the North Pole, led by Grilla, who is the Christmas witch. He's played by Kiernan Shipka, it was interesting to see her in this role, actually. So he gets stolen.
What else has she been in?
She's in that the Netflix Sabrina show, right?
Oh, is that her? Oh, she is Sabrina. She was in that horror film last year.
Yeah, she's in Longlegs. Yeah, she's a Totally Killer at Amazon.
Killer, yeah. Which Netflix released a film that looked like the same premise as Totally Killer this year, I swear.
There's 20 films on streaming that look like Totally Killer.
Yeah. It wasn't awful, if I remember right. It was okay.
It wasn't awful, but it just didn't look like a movie. It's like, It's got that shing and that streaming shing.
I didn't realize that was her as the witch.
Yeah,
Christmas witch. That famous.
God damn it. Grilla's at it again. So they take away Santa. So J.K. Simmons, although on the poster, is incognito for most of the film. And Callum Drift, played by Dwayne Johnson, it's his job to team up with Jack O'Malley and try to get Santa back.
Callum Drift.
Callum Drift. I know that he's not a Callum. He is not a Callum.
Callum Drift and Jack O'Malley.
Jack O'Malley. It's like one of the cats from Aristocats.
And they try to do a Men in Black thing with them as well. Like it's you know.
Oh yeah. And it's like, sorry, I was talking originally about the buff Santa thing.
Yes.
And it's like that has. Right, it plays in a little bit at the end when JK comes back, and it's part of. But this film is so obsessed with trying to prove to kids that no, Santa is real. It's so cynical. It's like, right, kids are not going to believe the elf shtick anymore, or like older Christmas movies where it's just pure magic of Santa and all that sort of stuff. We've got to explain every minute detail of how this is done. Even like at the end of the movie when they give out the presents and he's literally the whole operation, which is a hilarious CGI sequence in of itself.
Yeah. It's actually quite funny, the end sequence of Santa getting all the presents
really
away. And he's like full blown somersaulting into chimneys. That actually did make me chuckle.
Yeah, I mean, maybe intentionally too.
Yeah, actually. I think so. I think that was the one part.
But yeah, I mean, everything needs to be explained. It's so cynical. The reindeer are like 30-foot giants, maybe like Elden Ring bosses. So like, yeah, it's pretty. It's a dark movie. Watching this from like the first half an hour, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna close the curtains. Make sure I can see this thing. There's
lots of smoke and mirrors on some of the special effects as well. Like some of the CGI, you can tell like probably wasn't up to par, so they kind of hide it in a lot of like snow, dust, and fog and stuff like that.
But it's like, it feels like, oh, how can we spend more money here because we haven't quite fulfilled the budget? Let's just give Dwayne Johnson a device that makes him 3 foot tall in action sequences where he can do roly-polies under people's legs. It is funny. It is
funny.
Visually terrible. And I probably my favorite parts of the film, actually, was watching
when the Rock is 3 foot tall.
Yeah, but it's still in proportion.
Yes, yeah. It is weird. It does kind of lead me to think that, like, who is this film for? And I thought this throughout the whole thing. Like, I feel like it's aimed at like an early teenage boy, right?
Really?
Or like an iPad kid.
I feel like there's times I'm watching this is like for 6-year-olds.
Yeah, but then there's also a lot of swearing. There's a lot of shits and dickheads and
like it's bitches and
yeah. That's why I feel like it's made for the kind of like iPad kid generation that's drinking Prime and watching KSI. Like it's made for that generation, but then it's like, why would they care about any of this?
I mean,
it has the sensibility of like one of those kids. I know I'm being very stereotypical right now, but it has.
No, it's funny.
It has those sensibilities, but then at the same time, it's like this film about Christmas. So it doesn't.
It's trying to be really sweet. I mean, those moments like at the very start when so Callum Drift Johnson is like losing faith in humanity, and that like kids are just not up to snuff for Santa to be nice to them anymore.
Whereas no, the kids, remember, it's the grown-ups.
It's the grown-ups.
But there's calling them the grown-ups.
Sorry. And sorry. And Santa does say, you know, like there deep down every adult, there's a kid, you know? Yeah. And we got to find it's our job to release those kids again. So yeah, he's having a little bit of an existential crisis. I love it in this middle of this metropolis, this city of the North Pole. He before Santa gets stolen, he has a little Johnson has a little like reflective moment where he goes up to the original Santa's workshop. Is like it's like Ground Zero and it's got rails around it.
I thought the same thing when I saw it.
Yeah, and it's turned into like a museum relic, and it has a sign on it that says "Here's where it all began."
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I mean, Lucy Liu has. This is why I'm like, you're swearing, and this is for 13-year-olds, but it's also for babies. Like Lucy Liu at one point is like, she literally says the words, I have to inform all the presidents and all the kings and queens that there might not be a Christmas this year. I mean, like, he's all the kings and queens. Like, I'm not even joking. That is literally what she says. It was so, I mean, I find pure joy out of those moments. But I mean, it sounds like I'm liking this movie, but no, it's awful. It's awful.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I when I reflect on it, I'm thinking, I had a fun time the film is terrible.
So long. It's too long as well.
It's too long. Definitely too long. But like, I had a fun time. I just like, it baffles me that somebody greenlit this as like a 250 million production. And then you go on and like, some of it looks awful. Like the scenes on the beach with Nick Kroll and, all the, like the snowmen in like the Bahamas or wherever they are.
It looks like a Sandler movie for a minute. Yeah.
It's very green screen and it's like, you can tell nobody's actually there and it looks awful. But then when they get to Krampus, which again is just like another weird thing that happens, like, the actual makeup effects on Krampus and all his kind of minions within that area are like fantastic. Like there's a true dedication to making that stuff look real. When you mix it with the like awful CGI, it just doesn't work. Yeah, it's a weird film. Then it turns into a bit of like a Marvel film at the end where they have to like beat up a giant monster and I don't know. They're all quipping and
I mean, I give it a 1 star on my Letterboxd.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like, there is merit in its weaknesses sometimes, and I did have fun. Like the sequence where Santa's getting stolen away and Dwayne Johnson is impossibly keeping up with this high speed vehicle that's taking him out of the city, and he's rolling. It's like a video game. He's jumping buildings. He's going down slides. He's a superhuman. I really enjoyed that stuff, to be fair. But it is, and Bonnie Hunt, poor Bonnie Hunt, figure of my childhood, as Mrs. Claus, literally just has to sit home and worry and bake cookies.
Yeah, and occasionally like look at The Rock as if like they have some amazing relationship that you wouldn't.
Yeah, bring him home.
Yeah, like caresses his face every now and then. It's just like, Callum Drift.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is The Rock's like shtick? Is it running out of steam now? Like, I feel like nobody's charmed by this type of performance. Like, I feel like The Rock got away with it for a little while, but I feel like people are obviously, I think with Black Adam and stuff like that, like people are starting to realize that maybe. I mean, he acts like a superstar, obviously, but I don't know if he is one anymore. Like, this is bombing. Like, this didn't do well in the box office. I think the plan was always for it to be on Prime before Christmas, which is a good idea, but it felt like it kind of went to Prime without much of a splash as well. Like they weren't trying to big this up and promote it at the same time. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I do think there's certain people that will really like this film. There's a cynical part of me that really thinks that people will love this film.
Do you reckon?
I do. I think
heard anybody yet.
I mean, yeah, but how many Prime drinking kids do you chat to about film?
Yeah, that's true. We'll find out, I guess. We'll maybe we can do some market research.
Look, every year they sell out tickets for the Polar Express going to multiplexes again, and people go and see it over and over again. And that film is as grotesque as this one.
I like the Polar Express. I think people are a bit harsh on the animation on that film. I
do love the hot chocolate song. I'm there for that.
Yeah. I don't know. This isn't doing well.
No.
I'm really looking forward to The Rock's turn in Benny Safdie's film next year. I think it's next year. I know it's been in production. But I want to see him take on a serious role.
It's funny. I would love to see it. It beyond interests me. But then I watch him in this film and I'm like, your face doesn't move much. Like, I'm if they can get the performance, I'd love to see it. And I know there's a hint of that in his early career, when he first started acting. But I don't know. I'm skeptical, but I would love to see it. I would really like to see it.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued. I think he is wearing some prosthetics from the first look.
Okay,
so maybe they're going to. But I want him to win an Oscar one day. I want him to take the serious roles. I'm bored of him doing these kind of roles now.
Yeah, I mean, Batista could do it. I mean, it's all about utilizing.
I wouldn't say it like that, though. Batista could do it. Batista's like leagues above him.
Yeah, that is true. And yeah, I remember seeing Batista in Blade Runner and just saying like, oh, this guy gets nuance. Like he had this thing of glass. He had a pair of glasses in that film, which were like, he's like a massive hulking guy And he's got these little tiny spectacles that he was using them like Denzel was using his costumes in Gladiator 2 this year. You know, like as a proper, you know, that's a person who's probably thinking about what they're playing right now. And you know, I don't want to compare and diss Johnson, because I do enjoy him in some ways, but he is just trying to look like the coolest guy in the world in this, and coming across as the opposite.
Yes. Yeah. That's true.
JK, I don't know who his personal trainer is. He's looking jacked.
Yeah, he is. Well, he got jacked for Batman v Superman, didn't he? With was it Batman v Superman, or was it? No, he was in the Justice League, the Zack Snyder Justice League.
Yeah,
and he got ripped for that.
Even Whiplash, arms are big.
It just felt like part of that kind of like very bro-y atmosphere that Zack Snyder created on those films, where everybody had to look like
on-set Jim.
Yeah, an on-set Jim. Yeah, absolutely. But he kept it up. Maybe, you know, he kept it up, and he's jacked here, and Santa's a beast.
And it had no relevance. I was the thing, not until the end of the film, where it was like justifying the whole crazy action sequence at the end of him delivering all the presents in one night. It literally, we see his in-house home gym. He's working out in front of Mrs. Claus. She's counting his like 500th rep, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just getting started." And it's like, what, at that point in the film, this actually is not adding anything. All you're doing is just telling us that Santa's ripped, literally, until the last the ninth hour. You know, we don't find that out that actually has a relevance to the plot.
Yeah, I think they just were like, J.K. Simmons is ripped. We need to do something with this.
It just screams of like Christmas. We don't think kids think Christmas is cool anymore. Let's try to put our sunglasses on and pretend that we're down on the kids' level and make it like all military style. And like they do this a lot with Santa Claus movies. They do try to always do like the military thing with it. I don't know why. And it never works. You know, like, you're not making this movie, and somebody not making this movie and going, guys, is this not working?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Hey,
I don't know. It was fun, but it's not good. It's not good. I accidentally did a J.K. Simmons double bill on the day I watched Red One, because I rented Juror number 2, the new Clint Eastwood film.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't realize he's in it. Did you know that?
Do you want to talk about it?
I can talk about it briefly, but I don't believe you've seen it, have you?
I do watch all of Eastwood's films. I even watch Cry Macho, so it's very likely that I will probably watch Juror number 2.
Yeah, exactly. So I won't talk about it too much, but like I thought it would be a good film to put on in the evening, because Em loves that kind of courtroom crime stuff. I know it's not true crime, this one, but you know, like
you should watch Joker 2.
Yeah, we're not rushing to see Joker 2 just yet. That's not one of the films we caught up with. Is those weird things where it's like you want to catch up with the films you think that you might like? And maybe I'm dismissing Joker 2 too much, but yeah, no, I never got around to that one. Did I think this one was going to make my top 10? I thought maybe not, but it's getting good reviews. I'll give it a go, and it is pretty solid. Nicholas Holt's pretty good in it.
He's had a busy year.
It's a solid drama. For people who don't know, it is about like a high-profile murder trial. Nicholas Holt's been put into jury service, and as the trial's playing out, Nicholas Holt realizes that he might actually be a witness, or potentially more, in this kind of trial. So like it creates this brilliant bit of intrigue where it's kind of like, what do you do in that situation? Do you something that could potentially get you in trouble at the same time is like, you're sitting on the jury, you know more than everybody else. Do you try and sway things? Do you tell the truth? All this kind of stuff. So the film kind of plays with that dilemma throughout. I think it was a 2-hour film. I think it was pretty well. Like, it kept me intrigued throughout the whole thing. It didn't go exactly where I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to have a more explosive kind of finale, and it doesn't really go down that route. And I think there are like ways where I would have thought like, oh, that if they'd ended it this way, it might have been more interesting, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's a solid drama. It's a solid drama from Clint Eastwood. He's still checking them out.
It's 94?
94. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you watch Cry Macho?
No, I was just thinking, actually. I was trying to think what Clint Eastwood films I have actually seen.
It's a funny film. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, let me just have a look, because I'm slightly unsure now as to whether this was my first Clint Eastwood directed film.
Oh, you've seen like Gran Torino, right? And
no, I've seen more. Okay, no, so I haven't seen Gran Torino.
You seen Unforgiven?
Yes, you got me to watch Unforgiven, actually. So yes, I didn't realize he directed that one. I must have known it at the time.
$1 Million Baby?
No, I haven't seen it. American Sniper, I have seen. And Sully. I did watch Sully as
Jersey
well.
Boys?
Yeah, no, there's a bunch of his films that like I think I wanted to watch.
They're very grey, always.
Yeah, but no, I've not actually seen. Yeah,
Desaturation.
I've seen 3 films now. No, 4 films, I guess. Juror number 2, American Sniper, Sully, and Unforgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got an interesting filmography there, actually.
I think the only one I haven't seen is it The Mule?
Yes, The Mule is on here. Yeah. 2018.
Yeah. I think that Mule Cry Macho run, people were like, oh, okay, yeah, he's starting to show his age and maybe he can't really, maybe he's lost it a little bit there. And it seems like he's kind of bounced back with this new film. And like to make a film that's as well received and competently received at this age, and a 94 is pretty impressive and intrigues me enough to go, like, I really want to see that.
Yeah. I would say, would I rush out and rent it at its current price? Maybe not, but like I would say, like, because maybe not, but in the near future when it drops down a little bit, I think you could do it. It's pretty solid. It's a solid film. I enjoyed it. It entertained me for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Other business, Alex? We got
two
big films to talk about.
Yeah, what have you been watching again? So just remind me, and then we can decide what we'll chat about next. So I know you've seen Conclave.
I saw Conclave last night.
Emilia Perez.
I've seen Emilia Perez.
Any others?
Not in the last week. Those 2 and the other 3 Christmas movies were all good stuff.
I was trying to think if there's something else we're missing out on here. No, I guess, before that, it was like Wicked and stuff, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Should we talk Conclave? I'm in the mood to talk Conclave. Yeah. Because I actually, like, sometimes we go into these discussions knowing a little bit about what we think, because either we've seen each other's Letterboxd reviews or we've had a quick catch-up beforehand. But I actually don't know at all what you think about Conclave, so I'm intrigued.
Well, I'll start off by saying I knew what you thought, and that kind of weighed heavy on me. Going into the film,
sorry.
Not way heavy. I'm not delicate. I went into the film knowing that you told me that the background of this film it's adapted from a book that's kind of known to be an airport book.
Yes.
Yeah. And you felt that the film still followed in that sort of path and that journey. I was a little bit more surprised when I saw the film that I thought it was as well refined and stripped back as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more hooked. I mean, the subject matter, what happens is very it is, especially towards the end, it gets very heightened and melodramatic.
Well, should we preface now? I think you can't talk about Conclave without, or at least I can't talk about it without talking to you about the ending. So I feel like if you don't want to, because I feel like not everybody will have seen this one yet, but you might want to stick in for it. So if you want to skip this bit, I'll put in the show notes the different chapters. You can find out when we stop talking about Conclave, and then you can just we can.
We'll briefly say what the film.
Yeah, give some non-spoiler thoughts, and then we'll chuck it. Then we'll go spoilers. But yeah, give me a brief overview.
So yeah, the film follows straight away follows the death of the Pope. And Cardinal Lawrence, he is played by Ralph Fiennes. He kind of manages the Conclave. And I can I say I'm so dumb. I didn't really I knew kind of what conclave was, but I didn't know exactly, like, was it in, does a conclave form whenever the Pope dies, or is it just something that always exists? So it's a mass meeting of all the cardinals where they get to pick who he's going to become.
I don't think that's dumb, because I don't think I fully knew how the Pope situation worked either, because
what makes this movie so interesting, and I think it's way in for people, because we see what we see on TV, and we see these men as being quite stoic and men of God, and that they kind of go for these processes, and they're like almost their personalities are almost stripped away from them via what we think of them through the media. So it's actually quite interesting to kind of get a look into the lives running up to an event like this.
Yes, and how kind of political it is in a way as well, and bitchy it is. But I think as well, like, how many popes have we gone through in our lifetime? I feel like we've gone through like 3.
I remember Benedict was Benedict before Francis.
Yeah, and then there was one other, wasn't it? Again, now we got the German Pope.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think we've gone through 3 in our lifetime, but I didn't know it was a whole voting system. I guess for me, like, because I'm not a Catholic, and like, so I'm not out there like knowing the history of the Pope or like how the Pope works. All I know is like the Pope is chosen by God. So to me, I was like, well, there's probably not a voting system, because if he's chosen by God, he's chosen by God, isn't he? So, but then again, I guess that was kind of naive of me to be like, how does that happen?
It's a thought process that no matter what the outcome is, even though it's powered and thrusted by man and votes, but it ultimately is the decision of God that sways those hands and those decisions. So no matter what the outcome is, it was, God's being.
Yes. The same way that at some point the Film Angle is going to be the #1 podcast in the world, as chosen by God.
He told me
it's on its way. He's pushing our human hands.
We talked about Joan of Arc, and he thought that's a good time to tell you guys that you're the next Joan of Arc.
God channels through my voice right now.
It's godly. The aura that you have right now. So yeah,
I don't know if this loses more people than it gains.
Cardinal Lawrence, then. He's played by Ralph Fiennes. So he manages the conclave, and it's his job, as he puts it, to manage the flock. He's got to make sure that the transition is smooth, and that all these different ambitious cardinals and men coming suddenly into Vatican City, that there's all little mini conspiracies going on. Pasts are being unearthed. People are blackmailing. People are rigging votes. He's very suspicious, and he wants the right person to be picked. And we're following him through this journey as he uncovers mysteries and tries to usurp the wrong people from winning.
Yes.
I think.
Well, I don't think
contending with his own inner possible ambitions, or whether or not he has them to become Pope, or whether he just wants to. Where he wants to do the right thing, or he's fighting those inner turmoils that he has.
Yeah, and I don't think he wants to usurp anyone, but he has to...
Not usurp somebody, sorry. Make sure that the baton is passed to the right person.
Yes, but he also needs to play that line of whatever shall be, but at the same time, within the conclave, there are, people who are more... I guess ignorant though. There's definitely a left wing, right wing thing going on. You have an Italian
Stanley Tucci is Bellini. He is a liberal cardinal, and he wants to make sure that you're saying, the Italian cardinal. He's kind of he's the rock and roll star of these cardinals that comes in. He smokes a vape and causes a lot of disruption. And Bellini, Tucci's character, thinks that if we go with him, that guy, then we'll revert back to a state that...
he's openly racist, he's openly homophobic.
Exactly.
So, he's taking the church backwards, whereas they have become more progressive in recent years. Sure. Still not super progressive, but, And then also, the conclave is plagued with kind of...
There's external threat of bombings that are happening in Rome. and this kind of enforces like the bad viewpoints of the Italian cardinal that there's an immigration issue at play here too.
And one of the cardinals comes in as who wasn't aware to the rest of the conclave, who's actually a cardinal in Afghanistan. So that plays another
Mexican
part
as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a lot of different kind of political stuff going on. Give me like just before, because obviously I think we do have to talk spoilers. So like, do you want to give me a brief?
I was riveted the whole way through. I was on the edge of my seat. The film took me along for the ride, in the way that the best airport novels do. I was very entertained by this.
Yes, I'm with you. I was non-spoiler thoughts. I was pretty much. Yeah, no, I wanted to see what happened. I was enthralled. I was entertained, but I was rolling my eyes by the end.
The ending lost me also.
Yeah,
not because of the idea of it. I think it's just because it comes out of nowhere, and because the film I think is quite disarmingly sensible up until that point.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, this just not. I'm trying to find, and I was actually trying to look for the right path and the good here in this decision. I was like, this is never going this way. This is a complete weird direction, and I just didn't. Yeah, I just didn't. It didn't work.
Okay, so spoilers from here on out, right? It annoys me that a film that is so obsessed with like how painstakingly difficult this whole decision making thing is, that we've got things going on in back rooms, we've got affairs playing out, we've got racism, all this stuff on the cards, little groups being formed, like who are we going to vote in? Mm-hmm. Our guy, what's his name? Benitez makes, in the midst of a traumatic moment where the church has been bombed and some of the kind of more right-wing cardinals are calling this an immigration issue. He stands up and gives this good speech about like, have you ever been to war, being a cardinal in Afghanistan, and does this amazing speech. And all it takes is one good speech and everybody is now voting for him. And I was like, for goodness sake. But then I guess on top of that is like, I don't know if the
guy just turned up like a week ago and nobody even knew he existed.
Yeah, and there's some weird kind of hospital records stuff going on in the background. But apparently, because he is an intersex person, I think that's how you would describe it, right?
Yeah.
He was born with a penis, but he also has ovaries and a womb.
Yeah.
And the previous pope knew about this. And I think the idea is that like he had what he wanted him to become the next pope.
Sure.
But then I didn't fully understand like the reason for the film to go down that route either of revealing this, I guess, twist.
Because it becomes suddenly a message film.
Do you think so?
There's something to be said about that decision, about that. We're entering a period of purity, and that like the church has to become just completely neutral and pure and innocent to kind of, that's how he goes for the name innocent at the end, to kind of progress into the future. But it's just remarkably an uninteresting ending. It's just too head in the clouds and lacking the logic that preceded it for the the hour and 50 before. Yeah. And that it's just like, oh, okay, I kind of invested nearly 2 hours of my life for something I thought was going to be a little bit more spicy than this at the end.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that like I didn't know what I wanted the ending to be. Like if that was the end, I just wanted to get to a place where it felt like, oh, that makes sense.
Sure.
Like that logically makes sense that it eventually ended up this way. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think it would have been any good if like Ralph Fiennes had like been like, haha, finally my greatest achievement. Everybody thought I didn't want it, but I always wanted to be Pope. And
guys, he is so good in the movie.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Like everyone's good.
Fantastic. Like insanely good in this. Like I hope he gets the best actor nom for this because he is fantastic.
But he's just great in everything. I I love watching him just sit and think about things. Like when he's in mid-conversation, and he's always an actor. He's always keeping his mind busy in the moment. And like when he's having arguments or, face-offs with Tucci, well, they're both in the same sort of lobbying in the same party, but those exchanges are fantastic. And yeah, he carries the movie excellently. That only kind of Ralph Fiennes can do.
Yeah, I didn't like his whole battle with Faith. The moments where he was like hitting himself in the mirror and stuff like that. Like I thought that was just a bit tacked on and like was there just to create drama. I would have preferred it if he was just this like very considered, smart individual who was just trying to hold the Cardinals together. I felt like I didn't need that element because it didn't go anywhere for me.
I like little moments when he erupts at people for a split second, like he'll lose his cool and suddenly elevate his voice for about a second and recompose, and that's quite good.
I think you could keep that.
Yeah, exactly. But like the moment where he breaks into the Pope's bedroom and breaks down and cries, I actually struggled to understand the meaning of that moment because I felt out of nowhere. Like I get that he had. Are we supposed to think that he had some deep emotional connection to the Pope before, or is it just the dilemma in front of him? But that just didn't feel. Even though Ralph Fiennes sells crying in the middle of a bedroom at the 12th hour of the night, I felt like I just didn't understand that moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a confusing film, isn't it? Because I think like 80% of it is like looks great, sounds great, obviously a fantastic story because I'm interested throughout. And I just feel like it just lets itself down every now and then in a way. It's just like, why did you make that decision? Like, why have you done this? And like now the ending doesn't feel logically sound. Like I'm struggling to understand the message. Like it's quite a frustrating film at the same time as being like enjoyable.
The awkward tension is where it thrives. The awkward tension is brilliant and propels very well. It's just a shame, I think, because it's a good film, but it could have been. It's so close to being a great film, and that's kind of the shame of it.
Yeah,
I do think there's going to be certain people that are going to be attracted to this film that are going to be really annoyed by the ending, and be, I think they're going to lose a lot of their audience by the end, and it's a shame because they nearly had the sauce right. And Edward Berger's obviously a filmmaker that's starting to build up a reputation for himself. He did so well with All Quiet on the Western Front at an award season a couple of years ago. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like it's still to that quality. The ending is annoying enough where it really, because me and Lauren, we were both on the edge of our seat watching this the other night, and it kind of we were so kind of talking about it the whole way through and very hyped up in the whole journey, and it silenced us a little bit at the end. When the credits rolled, and I didn't know whether to say. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
It was a little bit like that.
I agree. It's it's like a good experience for the most part, and then just frustrates you. And yeah, don't know. It's an interesting one, Conclave, because I think it probably will, rack up a bunch of nominations in the award season. But at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know if you fully deserve to. But I think like there's such a prestigious thing around the Vatican, around the Pope, and the fact that the film is focusing on this and is entertaining at the same time, looking into the lives of these cardinals, which you wouldn't think would make for an interesting film, but it actually makes for a really interesting film. I don't know.
That was great.
Maybe it has that Da Vinci Code effect.
Well, I do think it's less schlocky than Da Vinci Code, but it does have that good. It's always fun to have an insight into these sort of lives, whether it's pulpy as it is like this here. We understand that it's not a true reflection, and I'm sure many eyes rolled watching this film more than us people that don't really know anything about this sort of stuff. But I would still recommend it. Even though the ending is dissatisfying, I think the journey is fun enough and the performances are great enough. It's not worth it, I would still seek it out.
Yeah. No, I think definitely give it a watch. It is a very, very interesting film.
Last one.
Well, yeah, I guess last one. I've been wanting to know what you thought of this film for a long time. because it's kind of got a bit of a mixed response. So we're about to talk about Emilia Perez, the trans cartel musical. We spoke about this in the run-up to the London Film Festival as a film that I think it was you, me, and Gavin were quite interested in seeing. And I think the response to it had been relatively positive to that point. I think as it went on in its festival run, it got more and more mixed. And then it dropped on Netflix at the end of November, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
To what seemed like quite a sour response from social media, everybody kind of ripping into this film a little bit. So then I was left thinking, like, am I mad and thinking like this wasn't awful? Like it was okay, even though it is a bit of a bizarre film. So I've been on your back, like it's on Netflix, Chris. You've got to watch it now.
This is probably the film the most this year that you've been most on my back about watching. I just waited for I wanted the right moment. I actually weeks ago went to put it on, and I was like, no, this isn't the right moment.
Yeah, I think it's because I know you're such a big musical fan,
okay,
and it tiptoes the line of like obviously it is a musical, but like not in the classic sense. So I'm like,
sure.
It could go either way with you. That's why I was so intrigued. I needed somebody who is more of a fan of the genre than me to be like, yeah, this works or doesn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the expert on musicals. I love musicals. So I do obviously lean into this material, hoping to like it. So you're one of the only people on my friends list on Letterboxd that give it a positive review.
I gave it 3.5 stars for anybody.
Which is positive.
Yeah, and I thought about giving it 4.
I'm exactly in the same spot as you. I like this movie. I find it stirring. I find it at times very moving. I thought it was a very interesting, provocative film that you don't see every day, and it has very interesting characters, and that's like the thing that really stuck to me. And it has this almost like Almodovar feeling to
yes, because it is schlocky, right? It is a schlocky film.
Melodrama. It's listed as a comedy. I didn't like. There's obviously some funny moments earlier in the film. I'm sure you'll probably talk about, but I find it for the most part a very moving melodrama with some intense moments. I was so intrigued to see where the story is going to go. I think, should we get into the plot?
Yeah, go for it, because it is bizarre.
So try to stick with us here. So Zoe Saldana plays Rita, who is a lawyer who works for a large law firm, and she has just acquitted a criminal, even though a really high profile criminal. He is suspected of murdering his wife, I believe. And she gets him acquitted, even though she doesn't even agree with the case. She's not even passionate about the case, but she's so good at her job.
Yeah, so she's just like a for the money lawyer at this point.
Exactly. She's very ambitious. She gets a phone call out of nowhere from one of the biggest cartel bosses in Mexico, saying, "Do you want to make money? I can give you $2 million if you do something for me." And that is to help them transition into a woman, Emilia Perez, and to leave their life behind, their children, her wife, and go and completely escape the cartel life that they were born into, and leave it all behind and transform themselves and become a new woman. And she reluctantly agrees.
Not fully sure how a lawyer fits into doing all this for you, but I'm going with it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And so we spend like the first sort of 20-30 minutes of, Emilia convincing Zaldana's character that this is the right thing that she should be doing, and that the transitioning is something that, it means so much to her. Hasn't lived their life properly before this moment, and well, the money talks ultimately.
Exactly. Yes. We're a very money-driven character here.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. So we follow that whole transition. Years pass. They've cut ties, and Zaldana meets back with Emilia Perez, seemingly by chance. Rita thinks that Emilia Perez has met up with her to kind of end her life a little bit, like cut off the last trace of the last person.
Well, she wasn't aware of who they transitioned into, so she's just kind of working in London now, and she's in she's having a fancy dinner, isn't she? And then Amelia's there, and they're chatting, and then Amelia says something which makes it click in her mind that she is this person she used to know.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's not there to end her life or anything. She's like, I want your help again. I want you to move back with me back to Mexico. And it's worth mentioning that Emilia Perez's wife, when she was a cartel boss, was played by Selena Gomez, and had two young boys, sent them away to Switzerland and faked her own death.
Yes. So Selena Gomez doesn't know that her husband is still alive.
Yeah, basically.
Who is now Emilia Perez.
Yes. So he then wants to see her children again.
Yes.
And wants her family back. So invites Selena Gomez and the children back to her house and pretends to be their aunt.
Yeah, like a long lost aunt.
A long lost aunt, yeah. He's taking them in, looking after them.
And pay them as well. That was the big thing. Like, I've got all this money. So like the way to get them into the house and into this almost like stranger, but like stranger's place, and to live with them is to be like, yeah, I'm paying you guys. I've got all this money. You're running out of it. Like, I get to see the kids.
High risk stuff.
Doesn't once mention who they used to be. Wants to keep that.
Also was having a guilt complex about all the thousands of missing people across the country that are probably at the hands of that previous cartel when she was a cartel boss, probably at her own hands, having guilt about that, and forms a charity foundation to retrieve the bodies and bring back some closure to the families that are lost.
Yeah. Especially considering they kind of know where some of these bodies are because they were responsible.
Exactly. So they're really good. They're really good at finding these bodies and becoming a really good organization. It sounds so,
and it's a musical,
and it's a musical. High ridiculous. Everything we just said, especially the second half of the movie. That stuff sounds so high concept and so ridiculous. There's something in this, Alex. It's so earnestly told, and the music. So we're going to talk about the musical element of the film.
Yes,
which I
didn't know this is where it might lose you. I wasn't sure because it does that little bit where it's like half committing, half not. A little bit doing the Lin-Manuel Miranda thing.
Yeah,
like super it's dynamic. Not a full blown Wicked.
No, this is no Wicked.
It does do some strange things.
Yeah, I mean, if Wicked ever comes to Netflix and it says if you at the end of the Wicked credits, if you like this, you will also like Emilia Perez. Just maybe check that one up first.
Brilliant.
I saw this less as a musical, and more. I thought it utilizes what musicals should do in general. Whenever they're sort of half talky and half singy, is that the music actually elevated the material, I think, and it emphasized emotional moments where sort of the words couldn't. There's some tender moments. I think some of the slower musical numbers, like when Emilia is like singing to her son, like kind of like in a lullaby way at nighttime.
That is my favorite moment of the movie. That one, because I think that was the one musical piece and the one piece where it's like, oh, like this is truly, having the inner thoughts come out onto the screen, and we need this emotional moment. That was the one moment that did kind of like get me a little bit.
And I think the lyrics of every song in this film do the same thing, where they really are very literal. Like you're never going to miss what these characters are feeling. It's very literal. What's coming at your screen? This is the injustice of the moment. This is how I'm feeling right now. And because it's presented in this way, it's over the top melodramatic way, you buy into it. I actually quite like the songs. I actually thought they worked really well. I thought it was very interestingly choreographed. There's some some moments. I love there's like a karaoke moment towards the end of the film where it's it's shot like an old videotape in a karaoke movie, and it's like there's so many different like interesting decisions that Jacques Audiard, the filmmaker, is making, and like he's got a weird career. He's a really interesting filmmaker, man.
Yeah, he
Rust
does.
and Bone, and
Rust and Bone. Yeah, that was
Paris
the one
13,
big one I remember. Yeah.
Sisters Brothers. He did like a Western with Joaquin Phoenix and John C. Reilly, and like he never does the same thing twice. So this is really interesting from him, and like it is complex because Emilia Perez, he's played amazingly. I think Zoe Saldana is amazing, and I think she is the first half of the film. But when the film becomes Emilia's, I think Carla Sofia Gascon she's incredible. I think she is, and that's that Almodovar thing. She feels like one of those larger than life characters that comes straight from one of his films. Yes. And I was just so bowled over by her performance and playing a character that isn't afraid to be not just a black and white, straightforward character that we're rooting for, but someone who really challenges our inner complexities and our opinions about redemption and progressing through a life that, you know, a person who's made terrible decisions previously before. So I find it very confronting. I find it very moving, and I was really satisfied by what I saw.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm glad you felt that way because, I felt similarly where I was like, yeah, I did really enjoy this. It is bizarre. It has a few hokey moments, but it does work, and
amazing how it works. It's
amazing how it works.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what everybody thinks that way, and I think it's because like it does touch on a few things, you know, trans issues and trans stories are big right now within the world. It's a big culture war thing when it really shouldn't be. And I think it doesn't particularly handle that with maybe some of the nuance that maybe people might want in this day and age, when maybe we do need a more kind of sympathetic look at a trans story, or like a trans story that kind of like helps open others' eyes to things. Like it's not worried about that in this case. In this case, it is just a narrative, like almost like a melodramatic narrative to kind of bring forward all these emotions and guilt and story elements. Like it is part of like a drama more than anything else. It doesn't want to, it's a bit heavy handed with it is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't want to bring like a nuanced look into this kind of world. It's not worried about that either, I guess. Any of the ideas or inner judgments or feelings I ever had towards Emilia for the film were nothing to do with the transition. It goes further than that. It goes way further than that, and it's more about this movie's less about that, and it's more about human nature. That no matter how much somebody tries to become themselves or change themselves or whatever, that it won't fix what was fundamentally wrong with them as a person that did bad things before, and which is very interesting, and that kind of comes to light at the end. And also, Amelia is not the only character. Every character in this film is very deeply flawed and has inner desires and wants and fights that the whole way through. Yep. This film is full of classically unsympathetic characters. The only innocents really here are the children and victims of people who have been killed at the hands of these characters. Yeah. It's true. Yeah, I wonder why it's had quite a bit of a sour reaction online, and I guess maybe it's some of those things we already touched on, but I don't know. I kind of had fun with it. I enjoyed it. I think that's its thing. Like it doesn't like fully go for any of the things that it wants to go for. So like, and that's maybe its downfall. Like it's not a full blown musical. It's not a full blown film about the trans experience. It's not a full blown melodrama. It's not a full blown crime film. But it's all of those things at the same time. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. Did you like Selena Gomez? I thought it was interesting to see her in it and speaking Spanish. I thought that was very interesting. And I guess the same for Zoe Saldana. Like she hasn't really had a role where we've seen her speak Spanish either, I think. So it was like interesting getting to see them do that.
There are scenes where both of them are just playing off each other and conversing in Spanish, and that was really exciting to watch throughout the film. Yeah, I think both of them are great in the film, and I think Selena Gomez brings an interesting dynamic. And I felt very sad for her character. I felt sad for everybody. Like, this movie is sad as well.
Yeah,
and like come the last 20 minutes, it kind of just unfolds into into tragedy, and I was on the edge of my seat. I wanted the best for everybody come the end, and we'll see for yourself.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you didn't come back to me and be like, well, what the hell were you drinking that day, Alex? Like,
I'm profoundly, I watched this in my home by myself, and I leaned in. I absolutely absorbed it, but I'm really interested to know what the experience was like to see it in a full theater with other people around you. I imagine audibly reacting in live time.
I'm trying to remember, really. I feel like it was one of the quieter audiences. So I did see this in the Royal Festival Hall, and I'm pretty sure it was a matinee. So it wasn't like not every seat was packed, but it was still pretty packed, like more than you would get in a View or a Cineworld. You know what I mean?
Sure. This film would sell no tickets in a View or Cineworld.
Yeah, I don't remember the audience experience being something that kind of informed the whole feeling of the film. And I don't know whether that was just it being a matinee thing or whether I was just tired at the point of seeing it, because I think this was later in my trip. I'm glad I got to see it on the big screen though. Like,
critical reaction is fascinating. Like, it seems that Europe really responded well to obviously did really well in Cannes.
Yeah.
And as soon as it opened up, it's been all over the place.
Yeah. Did it win France's Academy Awards as well?
Did it? It's their entry. Yeah, so it's their entry into the Oscars.
Yeah, but France's own kind of national film
I
awards.
imagine so. If it's their input into the international award in the Oscars, it probably is going to be their winner.
Yeah. Do you think it deserves to be in the Oscar kind of discussion right now?
I would say, based on others' opinions, it's got no chance. I don't think most people would agree. But
I feel like a lot of people are saying it's gonna get it's gonna get a nomination.
I mean, I struggle to say why I wouldn't like that. I do like the film enough. But it's just like, we all know it's not gonna do well. I mean,
yeah, no, I think the main kind of thing at the moment, the discussion is whether Zoe Saldana or Carla Sofia Gascon go up for Best Actress. I believe they're pushing for Carla Sofia Gascon more than they are Zoe Saldana, and Zoe Saldana might go into Best Supporting, along with Selena Gomez, who I think does have the opportunity to maybe clinch that award, because I do think she is very good in this.
Look, it's crazy because I don't think Saldana is supporting. There's no way. I hate that. It happens every year.
Yeah, there's always one that just feels a little bit weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I do think Carla is the performance that I remember. But Zoe Saldana is great in this too, man. Yeah. She has to sell. There's some early music numbers, she does some pretty out there stuff, and she sells it with such conviction where I never felt like I didn't chuckle or giggle once. I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Absolutely. But I don't get it. I would put Gomez definitely in Best Supporting now. I think she is that to me is a supporting character. Yeah. What do we don't know what actors and supporting are anymore. It's to me, it should be a screen time thing.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. Oh, I'm glad you liked it. I am glad you liked it. Actually, this has made me want to go watch it again.
I'm talking
about this. I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to see this again, actually.
Yeah, I love the bit at the start before Emilia transitions, and it's the meeting of the cartel boss and Rita in the van at the very beginning, or the car, and it's this really intense meeting, and it's very Lin-Manuel Miranda where like Emilia just like spits out this is what you're gonna do, and it's like this like almost like spit rhyme, and it's like it's really cool, and that's really stuck with me. There's just so many like moments in this film, and it's a film you won't forget. It's not unmemorable. It is not unmemorable.
That is true. That is true. Unlike anything you're gonna watch this year.
100%.
Better or worse than Wicked?
Oh.
You know, who gets... All right. Chris.
I was more surprised by Wicked.
Yeah, but you, Chris, have to decide musical of the year in this pretend award. And it goes to Wicked or Emilia Perez.
It is Wicked. It is Wicked for me.
Yeah.
It is Wicked for me. I really enjoyed that experience.
Yeah.
Much more than the reception of the world to that film. It cursed my feed for weeks. But you know, I really like. Emilia Perez really surprised me. I was so surprised. I was sunk into the story straight away. And it's great to have a musical with Alex that I agree with. I feel that's a reward unto itself, and I promise I didn't wish that into fruition. I didn't force that just to become a musical advocate with Alex, but no, we
do we are missing out one musical this year, which is Sing Sing, and I'm hoping it comes out on digital.
Is that a musical?
Yeah, I thought it was.
Isn't it it's about Shakespeare plays, right? In Sing Sing Prison. So I don't know if it's just.
I thought it was a musical. I'm not gonna lie. I might be wrong about this. We missed it in the cinema, but I know like if it does come out on digital before we do our. I was saying that. Is it on Netflix?
Is it?
My laptop's telling me it's on Netflix.
Oh my goodness!
I think it's found a film called Sing.
Oh, what, like the
animated one?
Yeah.
But it came up. For goodness sake, it came up with the thing. I can't believe Google just did that to me. It tricked me into thinking Sing Sing was on Netflix. Then, so Sing Sing is
Matthew McConaughey is a koala there.
Maybe I'm getting it wrong because I thought that maybe because it's got Sing Sing in the.
It could be a musical, but I thought it was a bit more of a drama, straight up drama.
Is it not a musical? I'm going to ask now, is Sing Sing a musical? I just keep saying American drama film. I should listen to the Cineboys episode, but I don't want to listen to the episode until I've seen the film.
Genre on Letterboxd just has it as drama.
Guardian here, Peter Bradshaw. Let's have a look. It's a big-hearted prison drama.
Yeah.
An ensemble fantasy comedy musical.
Oh, okay. You're right.
Performed by the inmates of Sing Sing Maximum Security Facility in New York. So maybe it's about them performing a musical rather than the film being a musical itself.
Okay. Sure. Like, yes, diegetic music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you know everybody... I believe I was listening to The Town. I don't know if you listened to that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the director on there the other day. And I believe he was mentioning how Sing Sing was almost like this project in which everybody got paid pretty much the same amount.
Oh, wow.
So whether you were like pre-production, in front of the camera, all that kind of stuff, like it was a shared pot of money essentially. And everybody had so instead of just like the actors having kind of reaping the rewards of success after the films come out, everybody gets to reap the reward. So if it does well, everybody gets paid the same amount of kind of residuals going forward. It was like this kind of test, but it meant like people like Coleman Domingo had to like reduce their salary, but like in doing so, you're kind of agreeing to this kind of experiment to see how that gets on. So everybody kind of gets rewarded.
And he does. If Greg Quader does that with all of his films, I would like very much to be the coffee boy.
Yeah,
just be the most menial.
I don't know how it trickles down to. You don't want to be like, oh yeah, the runners don't deserve it as much.
I'll do anything.
It'll be I'm very intrigued as to how it kind of trickles down
there has to be
some
a
of the smaller
right?
roles. Yeah, there's got to be a hierarchy to some extent.
Yeah. chief executive of Vacuum.
I highly recommend listening to that podcast. You and I have spoken about doing a box office draft next year, which we'll do early into the year. A lot of the rules of that box office draft I took from the town who do it themselves.
It's a podcast thing. They all do drafts.
They all do drafts. But yeah, I mean, that kind of leaves us here really in this space where we've spoken about the films, we've done the catch up, but I think this is our last episode of the year, Chris.
Is it? Wow.
I believe it is. We
didn't talk about any strippers once.
Exactly. Were you thinking we were going to?
Well, if last year was anything to go around.
What happened last year?
The Santa strippers.
Oh, of course, in Santa's sleigh. Yes. So we did give you a half a Christmas episode here today. But yeah, it's worth saying we're going to have a 2-week break and then we're going to return in 2025. And our first episode back will be our year in review, which I hope everybody's looking forward to, because I'm looking forward to, I try to keep up a top 10 throughout the year to try to get ready, but it all changes in the run up to that.
Oh,
episode.
100%.
I start thinking, actually, I did like that film more than that one. And we always say it's weird to rank films, but we're doing it anyway.
Yeah. So everybody at home, brush up, try to squeeze in as many, potential award-winning films that are going to be talked about next year. If you can find them, you can watch them. They're being on streaming service. We probably might catch up or talk about at least one of those that you're watching. So yeah.
Nosferatu comes out in between our break and our year in review. Day. You never know. That might make it onto our top 10 list. Yeah, I think Nickel Boys might come out.
Yeah.
So you never know. You might get to catch it before our top 10 list. You never know.
We Live in Time.
Yeah. There's a lot of good films coming out in this kind of like period, and then it makes it very difficult to know how to do the top 10. But we always go off US release dates, I think, because if not, you're talking about films that came out in like January.
It's really hard.
They were all part of the 2020, the 2023 like October, November release. It gets complicated.
You see, whenever you historically recount films, when did Alien come out? 1979. When did Toy Story come out? 2010. Or Toy Story 3, 2010 or something like that. You never think about UK release, do you? You always think historically about films like in their US release.
Yes.
So it's easier that way.
It's easier that way to talk about it. You're right. So yeah, obviously we got a bit more catching up to. We got the 2-week break. Things could change. But yeah, no, I really like our year in review episode, so I'm looking forward to doing that with you. But I don't know, what do you think of this year as we close it, Chris? Are you, within the film world and also for the podcast?
For the film world, it's been. How would you say this year has been, Alex? Not for us, for films.
Like a mix to positive for me. I think I was really burning out on films in the middle of this year, and I think being able to go to the London Film Festival reignited the spark that there were actually good films coming out this
year. Yeah, and especially talking to you, it's really excited me to catch up with some films that I know that I'm going to like. So that's enough spark for me too. I think we were really lucky first half of the year, first quarter of the year, with some really big proper blockbusters like Dune Part 2, Challengers. Really excited me. Yeah. So yeah, and the podcast, we've been doing different things differently, and that's really exciting. And seeing how that forms and perfects itself coming into the next year. We're always trying to grow, make ourselves better versions of ourselves, even though you can't be any more perfect, Alex. You're perfect as you are.
You're perfect as well, Chris. You're perfect as well. But we rebranded this year, Chris.
Yeah, the rebrand. A shout out to Alfie.
Thank you, Alfie.
Yeah, he's incredible. Really talented.
I think it kind of like sparked us to kind of like rethink the podcast a little bit, and we've been riding a bit of momentum since the rebrand, haven't we?
And I put the podcast on Spotify, and it comes up on my phone. It looks nice.
It gave me more confidence to go out there and speak to people. So I really appreciate the work Alfie did earlier in the year for us, and hopefully we'll get him on again next year.
For Craven the Hunter.
Yes, yeah. Maybe he's cursing us right now because he's like, Kraven the Hunter's out, guys. Where's my invite?
Yeah.
Maybe we need to do a funeral to the Spider-Man extended universe at some point early next year, and
I
bring
am not
Alfie
watching Morbius.
Yeah, you have to. We have to finish the Venom films. You have to catch up with Morbius. We'll speak about Kraven. We'll get Alfie on, and we'll discuss all those things. But yeah,
I will light the funeral pyre myself.
We hope you've been enjoying our kind of new revamped look at the film angle. Obviously, then we were able to get into the London Film Festival. I want to thank Gavin as well for being like one of our kind of first people that we've reached out to that we didn't know prior to them coming on the podcast.
Sure.
And that episode was actually one of our best episodes in our little Spotify podcast wrapped thing that we got. That was like our number one episode. So thank you, Gavin, for joining us there. And obviously from then we've been interviewing filmmakers, which has been incredible. And I just like absolutely love conducting those interviews and doing the research before them, and then listening to them as they come out, and just getting to be part of that conversation is really exciting. And you never know, by the time we come back next year, some of them might have been shortlisted for Oscars, and we'll find out very early into next year whether any of them are nominated. So that's very exciting.
Watch this space.
And we have more ideas coming up next year. You've already seen a little bit of it with the Ghibli angle. I think we'll be finishing off the Sight and Sound films next year. Like, we've got all these different ideas and series we want to do, and we've got more exciting things. Like, we're just riding a wave of momentum right now. Spotify did say we increased our listenership by 93% this year, which I think is just mad. So
that's a win to me.
I think we got to strive to keep that number high.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Funny.
Oh, it's been great, Alex. I'm really excited going into the next year. I will say that the podcast has kept me watching films, but I have been a little bit more off the gas watching stuff this year. I've got other stuff going on externally with I study outside of the podcast. But I'm really looking forward to getting back on the saddle, starting fresh. It's always nice to have that letterboxed watch this year, go back down to zero and be like, right, I'll watch movies now. Okay, I'm back on it. It's like going to the gym in New Year. It's like it's a you know.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's difficult, isn't it? We are the podcast isn't our job as much as we would love it to be. I guess it was for me at the start of 2024 when I was jobless for a bit.
That felt like longer ago.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. But yeah, I mean, if anybody does want to like pick up the podcast, put some money behind it, and make it our jobs, that's fine as well. Like, if you want to do that,
sponsored by Viagra.
We can only wish. But yeah, no, it's been fun. And I think it's going to continue to be fun, which is the main thing. Obviously, we've got some exciting things lined up for next year, which I'm really excited to do and get back talking to you.
Godspeed.
Well, 2-week break coming up. Please come back and listen to us when we come back with our year in review in early January. But Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone.
Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas, Alex.
Merry Christmas to you too, Chris. Do we do the whole spiel? Should we do the spiel?
Yeah.
Let's do the spiel. Here you go, guys. One last time for 2024. That has been the episode for this week. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating or review. We do really appreciate it. If you'd like to keep up to date with us, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Film Angle.
We also have a Film Angle playlist. If you want to listen to what we listen to, you can find that in the show notes. Be sure to catch us next week for more cinematic discussions. But for now, goodbye and Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
See ya.